Last night, Louise and I watched the town hall, I guess they call them now, or panel or forum. Forum, that's the word. Thank you, Shano. And interesting. There being no Republicans, I didn't need to have a drinking game. I think I mentioned on the air yesterday, we're out of wine. In fact, I think we're out of all alcohol right now. So I watched the show with complete clarity, more or less. And my take home, for you who watched the forum last night, we'll open the phone lines and I'd love to get your thoughts, just in general. Let's not go all bashy on anybody, but what are your thoughts about what happened? And here's my sense of what happened. First of all, I thought that Bernie did a spectacular job for a very good reason. Bernie, probably out of all the members of Congress, Bernie has one of the most comprehensive voting records in Congress. I mean, he's gotten more done politically, even when Republicans ran the House of Representatives, than pretty much any other Democrat. It's really his record. He kind of he mentions it, but he doesn't brag about it the way he could. He's been a very effective legislator, and he mentions working with John McCain to reform the VA, but it goes way beyond that, and it goes way back. And what he does every weekend, which most members of Congress don't do, is and I know this because for 10, 11 years he's been on our show every Friday, and every Friday, either every Thursday night or every Friday morning, he's on a plane to Vermont. And because 9 times out of 10 he does Brunch with Bernie from Burlington, and then what he does all day Saturday and all day Sunday is he goes around the state and does town halls. I don't think there's anybody in Vermont who hasn't met Bernie at least 6 times. I mean, it's just like he's just been doing town halls forever. It's what he does. So, he did a great job last night. What a surprise! Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, she's very good at giving speeches. Clearly she is. I mean, anybody who can make $250,000 for a speech has got to be damn good at giving a speech, number one. And number two, she's a really good debater. Every time I watch the debates, I come away thinking this woman could be president of the United States, but perhaps more importantly, would eat the lunch of any Republican that she's debating. And I mean, she's a very, very skilled debater. But she doesn't seem so comfortable in that kind of squishy town hall format, friendly, just answer questions from people. I just kept getting this sense of okay, here, the question is asked, and you can kind of see the brain going, okay, let's see, answer number 1B plus 2C plus, it's like kind of modules. Now, clearly Bernie was doing the same thing. I mean, the basically saying things that he always says. And Hillary was doing the same, but it seemed more natural for Bernie. Now, none of that's a hit on Hillary, or for that matter, super praise on Bernie. That was just my observation. I think in the debates, my experience of the debates has been that Hillary has done a really great job, and if not on the substance, at least on the technique and strategy of debating, she's holding her own and sometimes beating Bernie. But on these town halls, I think he has a home court advantage. Implies geography, and I don't mean it geographically. I mean it like this is his politics. Bernie has been doing town halls since he was 19 years old, getting arrested at the University of Chicago. Literally. I mean, that was it was one of those meetings. Get a bunch of people together. Let's talk. Let's figure out what we're going to do, and like that. So, I think the format favored Bernie. But I thought they both gave very good answers. I thought the important things were said on both sides, and I think increasingly, the question that is being litigated right now in the press, and Bernie's leading this, is what's a progressive? Now, you could also ask the question, what's a Democrat? I mean, this is Barbara Boxer tweeted this out. She said, well, maybe some days Hillary's a progressive, but some days Bernie's a Democrat. And, it's tough to challenge that. Bernie is the longest serving independent in the history of the United States in the House of Representatives. And maybe the Senate, I'm not sure, but I know in the House, he's the longest serving member of the House of Representatives who is an independent in history. That being said, Bernie has always caucused with the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party has always embraced him to the point of giving him committee chairmanships. And he's on a whole bunch of different committees right now. He's always has been. So he's been functionally a Democrat, but Barbara Boxer, Hillary surrogate, is right. What makes a Democrat? And I think that these are actually really important questions. What makes a progressive and what makes a Democrat? Shano went to the trouble of digging out some Russell Kirk quotes this morning before I got here. Thank you for that, Shano. And the 6 canons of conservative thought. This is excerpted from Russell Kirk's book, The Conservative Mind. And in fact, you can find a lot of this in my book. I think it's in Cracking the Code. It might be in Screwed, but I'm pretty sure it's in Cracking the Code, where I have I go off at length about Sir Edmund Burke and Russell Kirk. And Russell Kirk. Here's the 6 canons of conservative thought. Now keep in mind, this was 1952. Nowadays, if you were to start the 6 canons of conservative thought, the first one would have to be bigotry. The second one would have to be warmongering. The third would have to be hating the poor. The fourth would have to be, cut tax breaks for the rich. The fifth would have to be corporations should rule the world rather than governments. And George Washington was wrong. We don't need no stinking government, right? That would be modern conservatives. But classic conservatism, his 6 canons, number 1, belief in a transcendent order or body of natural law, which rules society along with conscience. Okay, this is what Thomas Jefferson was writing about, by the way, in the Declaration of Independence when he said, nature's God. And this is both conservative and, I would argue, came out of Enlightenment thinking as well. Number 2, affection for proliferating variety and mystery of human existence, as opposed to the narrowing uniformity, egalitarianism, and utilitarian aims of most radical systems. This is where Russell Kirk almost admits that egalitarianism is not conservative. Hierarchy is conservative. Number 3, conviction that civilized society requires orders and classes as against the notion of a classless society. This is where Russell Kirk comes right out and says, to be a conservative means you believe that it's a good thing that society have rich people and poor people and that there be difference between them. Number 4, persuasion that freedom and liberty are closely linked. Number 5, faith in prescription and distrust of sophisticators, calculators, and economists. But here's number 6. This is the big one. Change may not be salutary reform. Hasty innovation may be a devouring conflagration rather than a torch of progress. Society must alter, for prudent change is the means of social preservation. But a statesman must take providence into his calculations, and a statesman's chief virtue, according to Plato and Burke, is prudence. In other words, a conservative is cautious. Step by step, incremental changes. Whereas a progressive or a liberal would say, we're not that cautious. We want to make some really substantial changes. If it doesn't work, we can always, fix it, hopefully. But, we're here to make change. Whereas conservatives we're here to preserve the status quo. And I think that at a certain level is a reasonable description of some of the distinctions between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, although I'm very wary to call Hillary Clinton a conservative. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.